This is the Dave Ross Show on News Talk 710 Cairo for 3 full hours from 9 a.m. until noon, spreading drive-by wisdom to the masses. One listener at a time. 6 minutes past 11 o'clock. Remains overcast, remains wet. Let me just check. Yep, it's wet. The guy walking by right now doesn't have a raincoat or an umbrella, but he's clearly from here, and once March comes around, we just remain blissfully in denial that anything's falling out of the sky. We're going to talk about politics in a moment. It's super pressure critical Tuesday tomorrow. The definitive primaries are tomorrow. These are the ones that will decide once and for all who gets the Democratic nomination, just like all the others did. Before we do that, there's another vote coming up tomorrow in Oklahoma City, which could determine the fate of the Sonics. And Steve Hunt has been following this for us. He's with a group called mapsformillionaires.org. That refers to, I forget what it refers to. What does MAP stand for again, Steve?
Metropolitan Area Planning System.
That's it. That's the planning system.
And it's quote unquote, I think.
Yeah.
Well.
That's the way they subsidize developments in Oklahoma City.
Yes. That's basically the way that they pay prior mayors to buy land to put new schools on, developed by. You can imagine how these things work.
Well, sounds like a great idea to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, tomorrow your 1 cent sales tax for rebuilding it's called the Ford Arena.
The Ford Center, which is in downtown Oklahoma City, 5 years old.
Which is all of 5 years old.
Right. It's
and already falling apart, I assume. I mean,
absolutely.
They made it with paper mache.
It's this as old as the war in Iraq, so we gotta get a surge to rebuild and protect our freedom or whatever.
Okay, so you've been following the debate on this, and when we talked a little over a week ago, you said that this was actually a contest. Has there been any more recent polling on whether this is going to pass or not?
Well, there hasn't been a lot by the yes vote people, because I think they're starting to. Well, it's obvious that they're getting scared. The ads have been ramped up just to insane proportions.
What are the ads saying?
Oh, well, let me give you an example of just how ludicrous it is. My parents, they're on kind of like the Focus on the Family type mailing list and things like that. They got a mailer Friday from a previous mayor, Kirk Humphreys, who's, one of those people. It basically... This is on mapsformillionaires.org. You can see it. It's the big featured thing. Basically, he's talking about how MAPS projects in the past have brought Promise Keepers, Women of Faith, Billy Graham to town, and in order to continue bringing these great things, or what he didn't say acts, I think that would have been funny if he did, to continue bringing things like that, we must vote yes. He says, I am voting yes on Tuesday, March 4th. I urge you to join me. There are certain times in your life when saying yes is simply the right thing to do. He's basically saying if we don't do this, God will turn, back on us.
So God has finally gotten involved in an NBA basketball issue.
Yeah. I don't know if this is the first time, but definitely has got involved in this one. So, but if it does pass, the part of the plan to redo it is going to be a huge glass structure in the front.
Well, but it'll be okay because it's going to be Hoops for Jesus.
Right. Well, a huge glass structure in front is going to be right in the middle of Tornado Alley, so we'll see what God thinks about that. And,
Jeez. That's pretty nasty. All right, so we don't know what will happen. Now, if it turns out, are you guessing now that it's going to go down?
I think so, based on, for example, I was on me and David Glover. Let me tell you about David. He is a guy who I came in contact with by probably 2 months ago when I spoke at City Council. After that, I sent out several emails to some of my lists, Oklahoma Media Awareness Alliance, and his brother was on that list, showed it to David, and David has gotten involved. Well, Friday, David gave a press conference at the Capitol with Wanda Jo Stapleton, who's a former rep here, who's been real involved in our campaign, on some city data that showed it's going to cost $150 per person on the average. And our mayor was just furious about that. He's like, "Oh, this is a lie," blah blah blah. And then they would cut to David holding up the data, which was straight from the city.
Mm-hmm.
And once we've gotten that kind of stuff out, it looks like the tide's really turned, and people are starting to realize that this is just a total scam. And people are also realizing what's going on out in Seattle. That there's a chance that there's going to be a bid to buy the team back, and they're also realizing that if we don't get the Sonics, we can get the Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
And people here like the Hornets more because they were here for a couple of years, and
sure.
And that market, they have lost a third of their base there, from Katrina, so they can't support a team. Well, when they're finished there, they can come up here.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that would be great if the people of Oklahoma City. I mean, there's no state redder than Oklahoma. If the people of Oklahoma City could finally draw the line on these pro sports handouts, that might actually turn the tide.
I think so. I was speaking with Dave Zirin, who's got a couple good books on kind of social justice in sports, and man, he's really excited about this. He said that he'd like to have us on his show Friday, and I think it's going to get a lot of attention. But it's a great story, and it's just so ridiculous. If you look at the ballot on the Maps for Millionaires site, read it closely. There's let me just read you this. It says. This is kind of halfway down. It says the ordinance states that the tax may be expended only for improving city sports facilities and list sports facility related improvements, costs, articles, expenses, reimbursements, paybacks, and payments. Okay, so it's got this reimbursements clause in there. That means that if the Sonic guys pay like $20 million to get out of Seattle, part of their negotiation process is to refer to that reimbursement thing, and $20 million of the $125 million can go to paying them back.
Oh my gosh! So you guys would be paying us?
Yeah, yeah. Also, Rudy Giuliani in New York City worked that thing so that the taxpayers paid for the right to be told what to like. And that payback thing, we believe, will go to the campaign that has been lobbying for the yes vote.
You'd end up paying for your own brainwashing.
That's right. It's pretty good deal.
Hey, that's why Clay Bennett is rich, and you and I are not.
That's right. And man, I don't even know what to say about it. It's just zany. It's an insane asylum. But it's developed. All this stuff is just part of this just amazing story that just every day there's something new. Like the Grand Wizard of the Chamber of Commerce, Roy Williams, Wait.
He's not really called the Grand Wizard, is he?
No, that's just
okay. Okay, just want to make sure.
He accused us. He had the audacity to accuse us of not playing by the same rules as them, and he was referring to the fact that we weren't keeping track of money, didn't have a pact or a 501c4. We had all that. We kept track of all the money we spent, which is like $270. They say they've spent over $100,000. I think it's closer to $1 million. So,
wow.
There's that.
You ran your campaign on $270 and failed to account for it, huh?
I know. And then there's Drew Dugan, who's one of the heads there, who has been hounding another website called march4vote.org. The kid that does that site has spent $40 on his campaign. He tracked his IP coming straight from the Chamber of Commerce. And another girl who goes to Mick Cornett's church, I'm just a delivery guy. I work for a big company, pick up and deliver packages. I had the audacity to go to her church to deliver a package, which I've been doing for some time now. Well, she saw me, called my boss trying to get me fired, saying I was like going there to harass them or something.
Jeez.
I mean, yeah, that's how ludicrous this thing is, and that right there is how they feel about it.
Well, just make sure those votes are carefully counted, my friend.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you.
God. Well, we're waiting to see what happens, and thanks for coming on and giving us